Okay, today we are playing a game on the Temple of Anubis. The average SR of this game was 2,757, and we will be playing Widowmaker the entire way through. And our current team composition is D.Va, Zarya, Hanzo, Widowmaker, Moira, and Mercy. So we have both the snipers, even though Hanzo isn't really a sniper, despite being categorized as such. His effective range is closer to that of soldiers than to a sniper's, really. But, whatever, you know. Blizzard can do whatever they want. So it looks ugly. I'll give you that one. It does look ugly. But here's the devil's advocate, right? It's really easy to pick people off, theoretically, on attack with this team, because you got Widow doing damage, you got Hanzo. Both of these people can just one-shot someone, of course, as well. But bare minimum, they're doing a lot of damage to someone if they hit them. Then you got Moira throwing orbs through there, you got Zarya throwing shit in there, and you got D.Va who can dive in there and, like, is also just, like, throwing missiles and shit in there. So there's a lot of random damage going around, plus two heroes who have the ability to either kill someone outright or drop them very low, if nothing else. So it does, theoretically, work. Also, we're attacking. If we were defending with this team composition, it would be terrible, because our team comp would be so low presence, it would be ridiculous. But we're not defending, we're attacking right now, so we do have more leeway. We are playing on the console today, by the way, the PS4. What's that? A hero that requires aiming being played on the console. Oh, Royston, have you heard that these console peasants want to actually play the video game? Funny joke. It is worth pointing out right at the start that the common conception of Widowmaker is that you have to be able to do these insane hookshot plays where you fly up into the air and headshot 3 people before you land, and then do a 360 no-scope and headshot the enemy Widowmaker with your Venom Mine from half the map away. In reality, the actual thing that matters is whether you A, kill people, or B, set up kills. Also, common conception is critical hits is the only stat that matters for Widowmaker. No, it's actually eliminations. Not necessarily the same thing. Can be the same thing, obviously. Is not actually. Because if you think about the average game of Overwatch, right, there's a lot of damage flying around everywhere, and this varies from game to game, but it can be just a bit, and it can be fucking insane amounts of random damage. Because just imagine the enemy team, you've got, like, a Widowmaker on the enemy team, right? And they've also got, like, a Junkrat, a Soldier, a Moira, right? Then all of this shit is flying through you while Widowmaker is out there. And she's only got to tap you, right? Like, if she just hits you with a fully charged shot, you suddenly have 80 health if you're a 200 health hero. And that is really easy to suddenly die at that much health, and then suddenly, like, Moira's ball flies through and touches you and you die, or then Junkrat's bombs that you didn't quite keep track of just explodes near you and you die, right? Or some, like, the Genji sees that you suddenly dropped low and then dashes through and kills you, right? It is worth pointing out that a Widowmaker does not necessarily need to get an insane amount of headshots to be effective. That's obviously the most straightforward way to be effective, and it's also the only way your team won't cyberbully the fuck out of you, because Widowmaker is the hero that attracts the most toxicity in the game, easily, even more than Hanzo, because people know that Hanzo has a degree of RNG involved, where you can just peek a corner over and over again with your tree trunk projectiles, and eventually you're going to kill something. Bare minimum, you'll kill something every time Scatter Arrow is off cooldown. Widowmaker, however, definitely attracts a lot of hate. And if you aren't in the kill feed constantly getting headshots on people, your team will talk shit on you. It's just how it is. But as long as you are getting kills or setting up kills, that's all that actually matters, right? Because Widowmaker, like all heroes in the game, her objective is actually the same. It's just to kill people. And how you do that, it doesn't just have to be headshots. Also, side tip to help reduce toxicity, if you want to play a hero that typically attracts it, If you are playing a game in which you are almost certainly going to win, or you have a significant advantage already, you're pretty confident you're going to win the game, just change to the hero that you want to play. That attract, like if you are winning the game really solidly, just change to Widowmaker, and then that helps bolster your time played stat and your win ratio, because that's important, because Overwatch's community is absolute trash, and for some reason, they are allowed to have the freedom of just checking other people's stats at will. So if they see you pick Widowmaker, or if they see you pick Hanzo, they're gonna look. It's just what people do. And if they see that you've got like a 49%, if you've got like a 55% win ratio, they're gonna be like, throwing. If you don't have like a 70% win ratio, right, it's just like, nope, fucking throwing, Widowmaker trash. You need to have like 1 billion hours played and yet also have this insane win ratio to satisfy people. So if you're pretty confident you're gonna win the game, just change to Widow, Hanzo, whatever you want to play in that game, and pad those stats a bit, because that helps when you do actually want to play that hero, because then people will be less toxic to you. And otherwise, just ignore people, right? Yeah, here's the cat. You have to be, if you're gonna play a hero like Widowmaker or Hanzo, you have to be confident, there's the cat, that you're gonna play that hero, and that you're gonna play that hero well. So when people are talking shit to you, just ignore it. Don't answer back, because they won't stop, they just will keep doing so. If you're trying to actually communicate and little Timmy's over there throwing a fucking tantrum, just say really calmly, shut up, please. And then while they're stunned, go, thank you. Acting polite tends to take people off guard because they are only accustomed to being cunts and therefore attracting that same response from other cunts. So if you are suddenly being... The cat is, like, in the way a lot. So if you suddenly are polite to them, they're like, what the fuck? And then you just go, thank you. And then they... What? He didn't just tell me to go kill myself? I don't understand. And if they keeps being like an asshole, just mute him. Whatever. Just communicate as if he wasn't there. Just ignore him. And then this is the important thing as well. If you absolutely dominated that game and your team is still talking shit on you, at the end of the game, just go, GG. Your team will start talking shit on you, and the enemy team will go, actually. And nothing demolishes a person more than when they're talking shit on someone, but the enemy team defends them. So, that was a very long preamble, but the moral of the story is the Overwatch community is trash, and I don't understand why they are allowed to just look at people's career profiles whenever they want. Because that has to be the start of, like, half the toxicity in this game. Is people, that cunt, right at the start of the round, just opens the team button and scrolls down everyone and goes, they aren't playing their most played hero, they're playing like their second most played hero. Why are you actually throwing the game? I don't understand why people are allowed to do this. There are a lot of things I don't understand about why Overwatch is the way that it is, but that is the one I easily understand the least. Why are people allowed to just look at anyone's career profile? They should at least have to be on your friends list. Just being able to look at anyone's career profile starts so much shit. And it's why, also, so many people only play, like, 1 or 2 heroes. Because the Mercy main doesn't wanna, like, the Mercy main who wants to play Soldier doesn't want to fucking deal with trying to play Soldier, but then that cunt comes in and scrolls through and he's like, Mercy main trying to play a hero? Any other hero? Go back to your no-skill hero, thank you very much. You clearly can't play Soldier, you play Mercy, you play Reinhardt, whatever, how dare you? And then people wonder why there are so many, like, one-trick players out there. Maybe if you didn't talk shit to someone the second they didn't pick their main hero, we would have people who can play more heroes. And this is also why most people buy fucking Smurf accounts, so that they can play the hero they want to play without that bullshit. I hate the Overwatch community so much. It is actually worse than the League of Legends community. As someone who played League of Legends for 7 years, Overwatch's community is worse than League of Legends. I know, unbelievable. Anyway, so we've been sitting here talking for about 9 minutes. Let's start the game now. So, we're playing Widowmaker. On the console, FNAF, funny joke. So, Widow's hookshot is, still quite bugged, also. I remember after the Doomfist post about, like, the 97 bugs he's subjected to, someone posted one that's like, here are the 27 bugs that Widowmaker has, and, like, a lot of them with a hookshot, I noticed, and then also, like, that, double shot glitch for when you're scoped in, and it's like, shoot, like, you know the one I'm talking about. McCree used to have that problem as well, but they fixed it for him. Or at least they seemed to. I remember it just not happening one day. Widowmaker it still seems to happen for. And the hook shot is like crazy. So, we are on Temple of Anubis. So, common conception about Widowmaker is the only advice to give is aim better. This is not also strictly true, because Widowmaker also is one of those heroes that's just extremely threatening, right? So Widowmaker is one of those heroes that can zone people without even necessarily trying very hard, because the enemy team have to acknowledge the fact you are playing Widowmaker, and they have to try and stay out of your line of sight as much as possible, because they don't want to get one shot, right? Even if they think you're bad, the inherent, like, feeling within you're like, I don't want to stand in the Widowmaker's line of sight, because I can still just get killed suddenly, right? So people tend to stay out of the way. So quite a bit of playing Widowmaker is also just sitting off to my fucking hair. So part of also playing Widowmaker, oh god, this is a disaster of a video. Okay, so also, part of playing Widowmaker is, this is a very straightforward example. Your team's trying to push in through, like, this angle. You sit over here. Shit, that's annoying, isn't it? Especially if they only have one shield, like a Reinhardt. Because suddenly, you're threatening the whole area over here. Well, you're threatening more than that. You're threatening, like, this giant cone that basically your entire line of, like, Soldier basically threatens his entire line of sight. Widow actually threatens her entire line of sight, because Soldier doesn't quite have sniper range. Widowmaker obviously does have sniper range, because she's a sniper. My hair is pissing me the fuck off, and it's getting in the way of my glasses, and oh god, it's a disaster. Okay, so, because Widow threatens this entire area, if your team is trying to push in one way, you want to try and threaten a zone like this. Anubis is a very straightforward example of this, because suddenly it's very annoying. Your tank line are having to stand up here, because they're trying to stop the enemy team from pushing through that area. So that means your DPS, your squishier heroes are sitting back here, and fuck, they have to avoid Widowmaker's line of sight, so they have to try and hide behind these pillars, or they have to go close to the enemy team and, like, around the wall, which they don't want to do either, because then they're close to the enemy team. And then you can just sit back here and wait, and eventually someone's going to poke their face out. And going back to what we were saying earlier, you don't necessarily have to get the kill, as long as you can set up the kill. If we see Zenyatta or Mercier floating around, and then suddenly you shoot them in the body, they're at 80 health, and if you're okay talking to people as well, I don't care if you talk to a human being in this game, but then you call out that, like, X is really low, and if it's like Mercy or Widowmaker, your team are, like, sick, and then they go in. You don't necessarily have to kill them. You just have to set up the kill, or just give your team the advantage, because the team that has more health is typically the team that has the advantage. So if you sit back and you're just pecking at their backline constantly, that puts them on the back foot. At least to some degree. So, you know, the common conception with Widow is that it is just aim better. It isn't just aim better. There is, game sense that goes into it, though there is obviously a baseline aim requirement for playing Widow. If you just flatly can't hit anything, you can't play Widow. But you also don't need to be, like, fucking Taimu and headshotting everybody. Taimu doesn't play Widowmaker, does he? IDDQD? Someone plays Widowmaker. You don't have to be, like, insert pro player here that plays Widowmaker and is an actual physical deity on this planet. You just have to be able to hit people, and that's basically it. So we tried to go up there, didn't quite go up there, whatever. The enemy team are currently dying. We picked off Zenyatta, and by that point they were already down 2 people, so they pretty much just lose the fight at that point, is basically how it is. They had a Symmetra as well, but Symmetra didn't get to put her teleporter down before she died, which is the absolute worst thing that can happen to a Symmetra. Don't quite manage to pick off anybody. There was a comment in the email that, it was like, where was it? Because I got the email open. When I got key picks, my team would either die or not engage in the point. I attribute that to sometimes the picks weren't exactly at the right time. It doesn't really matter when you get the pick as Widowmaker, because the reason that you don't want to go out and try and get picks while your team are, like, okay, so imagine you're playing Tracer and you're just, like, floating around trying to kill somebody, but your team's still regrouping. You have to put yourself in physical harm's way to get a pick as Tracer, right? Like, you have to actually approach the enemy team. The McCree that's trying to get the pick has to actually expose himself to the enemy team. Widowmaker is hopefully 1,000 miles away, right? Because she's a sniper, is kind of how it is. The enemy should not really be able to retaliate unless they also have a Widowmaker. So it doesn't really matter when you get a pick as Widowmaker, because you just killed the dude. Like, that you killed the dude and there was very little risk to you for doing it, right? So even if your team doesn't really do anything off that pick, the fact you got the pick does still have an impact, because the enemy team loses some amount of tempo for that. If they lose their Mercy, it doesn't really matter if your team is regrouping, because now suddenly poking them becomes a lot scarier because they can't heal up as well. Or they maybe have to, the attacking team maybe just has to start giving up ground or something like that. The defending team has to start falling back. It doesn't necessarily matter that your team capitalizes on the pick or that your pick came at, like, a fantastic time. As long as you did it, that, like, it lost the enemy team some amount of advantage, right? And also, the psychological effect of that is to not be underestimated as well. Because if you just pick off the Mercy, like, 12 times in a row, it doesn't matter if that never actually converted into a team fight, because that Mercy is getting tilted to fuck every time it happens. The first time it happens, she's like, oh. Second time she's happened, she's like, oh. Third time, she's like, oh, really? And then it just keeps happening. And then it keeps happening. And that player tilts. And then they start tilting the rest of their team, because, like, they're like, somebody's gotta kill the fucking Widowmaker. And that's how it all starts. So it doesn't necessarily matter if it feels like you're getting picks and it's not really converting into anything, because the fact you're getting it is losing them some amount of ground. It's losing them some amount of tempo. And it's tilting that player just a little bit more every time it happens. And as we all know in Overwatch, the team that tilts first is the team that loses. Widowmaker is one of those heroes that's fantastic at tilting the enemy team, especially if they have one of your counters, but they don't actually kill you. Like, if they got a Winston, like, right down there, but he doesn't ever kill you, and you're still killing people on the enemy team, they start e-bullying the Winston. They start e-bullying the Genji. It's just how it is. So we have used Infrasight right now. This is not necessarily the best time to use Infrasight because we are starting to lose momentum during this fight, but Mercy is also floating around with Valkyrie. Usually the idea with Infrasight is that it's basically just a free pick, or it can help your team get free picks as well. Like, we got a Hanzo, he likes Infrasight as well. If you are already in a team fight where you know basically where everyone is, or you're already starting to lose ground, the pick doesn't necessarily mean as much, so Infrasight is theoretically a guaranteed pick, so using it in a situation where the pick is not likely to convert into something, or the wall hacks are not likely to really help at all, tends to not be great. However, Mercy was also floating around with Valkyrie, so we were pretty invested by that point. Also, Infrasight charges really quickly, because Widowmaker is one of those heroes that doesn't really have much trouble doing some damage, especially if there's a tank to bully. And they do indeed have a D.Va, who is generally just an ult battery. So I'm guessing our Zarya's Graviton got eaten, because I just heard fire at will. I don't see it anywhere, unless it's like behind pillars or something. Either way. So they have a shield generator, which does make life significantly more difficult for Widowmaker, because suddenly it's harder to pick people off, because suddenly, body-shotting them doesn't suddenly drop them down to 80 health, you know? However, if you do that, it doesn't matter. Actually, she was probably not in range of the shield generator, because No, you don't survive. No, it does 300 damage. No, wait, yeah, you do survive then. Yeah. Yeah, math is hard. No, 275. Wow, I'm stupid. No, you still kill someone, but a body shot suddenly doesn't amount to anything. I was just suddenly like, no, the shield generator gives you 150 health. I'm like, no, that would be overpowered as fuck. It definitely does not give you 150 health. It gives you 75 health. It's 50 if it's 150 if you also have a Torbjorn. Math is hard. Numbers are hard. My hair is fucking me about. I'm tired. My foot itches. I'm sick. I've got more excuses if you need them. Please, come and ask. I have plenty. So, the shield generators make life more difficult because body shots are suddenly much less impactful because they don't just suddenly drop down to sub 100 health, which is really easy to kill. Still not necessarily the end of the world. Just because they've got a Symmetra with a shield generator on the ground doesn't mean you have to switch off Widowmaker, but it is going to make life more difficult. General thing, also, Venom Mine is basically better out somewhere than nowhere at all, because nowhere at all is doing absolutely nothing. There's, two trains of thought with Venom Mine, which is that you either use it to watch a flank, or you use it to try and do damage. To me, using it to watch a flank is not a very good use of company resources, because you can just listen for somebody flanking you, right? Surround sound headsets and all that. Or, you can just, like, look around more often. To me, Venom Mine does essentially guaranteed damage. Like, it's very easy to get Venom Mine to hit somebody. So to me, it's better to just use it to do damage. Just, like, chuck it at someone. Rather than using it to watch flanks, because there's other ways to do that. But it's basically one of those things where it's better out somewhere than nowhere. Also, if they have a Winston, and the Winston's going to jump on you, if you put it down in front of the Winston, he just kind of breaks it. But if it's there when he arrives, he starts taking the damage as soon as he arrives, and then Winston is not very happy about that, you know, because Widowmaker can still kill Winston, especially if you shoot him while he's flying at you. So we do kill the Symmetra. It's like the easiest money in the world. The Symmetra is making no attempt to actually juke or jive, even though she has no aim requirement, really. Like, she's just kind of walking in such a straight line. So we had to reload right as this started to happen, which is very unfortunate, because that's, like, free money right there. However, we just killed both their supports anyway, so feels good, man. Unfortunately, this is, like, Zarya's mistake more than anyone else's. Like, Zarya went in while we were missing half our team. So even though we're, like, killed both their supports, I did that right next to the microphone, I'm sorry. Even though we killed both their supports, not many of our team were actually there to capitalize off of it. And it's like, Zarya went in with Graviton, so, like, obviously we killed people as a result of this, right? If we didn't have to reload at such an inopportune time, we might have killed more people. The problem is just that half our team wasn't there, so we weren't actually able to convert it into anything. It was Zarya's timing more than anything else, like, she should have waited. So we are using Infrasight right now. Our team is, like, largely around. We do end up not really doing much with half of Infrasight, because we weren't really in position to do anything yet. But we got information on where people were, so there's that, and it did still convert into this pick on the McCree, so that's great. I have, like, a lot of trouble seeing Infrasight silhouettes on this map. Like, probably doesn't help that I'm wearing orange glasses right now as well. But I'm also colorblind, so I also hate playing healers on bright maps in general, because I can't see the fucking health bars very well. And, like, a tank's health bar is even worse, because armor is, yellow. Is supposedly yellow in the health bar. I'm blue-yellow colorblind. Yellow, apparently, effectively becomes white to me. So, health bar doesn't really look any different to me for a tank. So, on bright maps, like, Ilios is, like, easily the worst one. Also because, like, the ground is largely white. I just can't fucking see. And then maps like this, I can't really see, like, the outline around people very well, and I can't really see enemy health bars that well. Being colorblind is a problem, and also, fucking Blizzard's colorblind thing is a complete fucking waste of time. I've talked to other people who are colorblind, and general consensus is, it's a waste of fucking time. Because it tints the entire fucking world, which is not actually very helpful. All I want to actually do is, like, change the UI element colors, right? I want to be able to change my health bar to be, like, fucking green or some shit, right? Like, that's all I actually want, but no. I fucking put it on Tritanopia, and then I just watch the whole world change color. All I want is, like, the health bar to be a different color. Like, or, like, these things to be different colors. I don't want the whole world to be tinted. Anyway. I don't understand why that is so difficult for game developers. It's like the colorblind mode, it only has to change the color of the UI elements, like the important UI elements. That's all it has to actually do. Whatever. It's just upsets me so much. I was in a game like a couple of weeks ago, and someone was like, does anybody here use the colorblind options? And he was like, he was red-green, I think. He's like, they don't help at all. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm glad you agree. They are a complete waste of time, aren't they? Oh, we'll be so helpful. We'll tint the entire world, and then they'll be able to appreciate the fine differences in our rock texture. I couldn't give a shit about your rock texture. All I want to be able to do is see the health bars on Ilios. Is that so much to ask? You'll let me change the reticle color? Anyway. It's all I want, but no. It's too much to ask, apparently. It has to tint the whole globe. It doesn't even tint it into colors that are, like, actually helpful. Because it's just the drop-down where you pick the type of color blindness. Just let me change the UI element color. That's all I want. But no. Anyway. We're playing a video game right now, so we're having a lot of trouble getting in. I do believe that, Temple of Anubis in particular, but any 2CP map is largely this way. Whereas, if you get the first checkpoint and you still have a lot of time left, if you don't capture it within, like, the first 3 minutes, you aren't going to capture it, because by that point your team has become tilted from the fact it feels like you're bashing your face against a brick wall and making no progress, because that's what you are actually doing. So they start to get tilted by that, and then as they get tilted by that, they regroup less, and they play worse, and start doing stupid shit. Some guy picks Torbjorn. It doesn't happen. So, anyway, we just got killed by Winston. Winston does just kind of pop out right next to us, which is unfortunate. And we run down to, like, our supports, and they don't help. Basically, the only way you avoid this happening is just don't get taken by surprise by Winston. We did fall off the high ground and use our hookshot to get back up again, because if you don't have your hookshot, it's very hard to get away from the divers. But the only way you can really know stop that from happening, because by the time Winston's there, it's already too late. The only thing you can do is just be more aware and don't get taken by surprise by Winston, because by then it's already too late. The fact they have a Zenyatta is also inconvenient, because it makes it easier for the Winston or the D.Va to kill the Widowmaker. So, we just watched our Tracer get fucking annihilated by Zenyatta, which is no doubt very sad for her. Elevator music was just playing in my mind. Don't pay me any attention. So, here comes their Mercy. She's using Valkyrie right now. Widowmaker is very good against Mercy because she can still kill her through Valkyrie. Obviously, you can headshot her. You don't even necessarily need to headshot her because you do such a large chunk of damage to her as well. So, it can end up being okay. It's like, McCree can also kill Mercy out of Valkyrie. And he doesn't have to get the headshot. He just has to, like, consistently land a few shots, and he'll kill her. It's just very hard to do that. The thing that really annoys me about Valkyrie is just that it obfuscates Mercy's exact outline, right? Because, her effect is very noisy, so it's hard to tell where her exact outline is, because the wings do not count. But the wings are taking up, like, all of Mercy's visual space. So there's so much noise around her that it's hard to actually aim. This is also why I like to use the dot reticle with no bloom, because I like to have as little visual noise as possible. It makes it easier to aim as far as I'm concerned. So, we were playing Widowmaker this entire time, and good heavens, we managed to almost never talk about aim better. How about that? That doesn't usually mean there's less to talk about with Widowmaker, except in abstract terms, where we talk about, zoning people and, adjusting our mindset that we don't have to get these flashy headshot plays, we just have to create kills, which is different to getting headshots, can be the same thing, but is also different. Because there's usually less to talk about in exact gameplay terms, because quite a bit of it can end up being aim better. You do also, if the enemy team starts being very dive heavy, where they have got, like, again, let's just go as extreme as possible. Let's say they've got a Genji, a Widowmaker, let's leave out Widowmaker, that makes things too complicated. Let's say they've got Genji, Winston, and D.Va, right? So they got 3 diving heroes that are gonna focus the fuck out of you. You have to now, and let's say they got a Pharah as well, that wouldn't be that unusual. So you now have to try and keep in mind all of these heroes, basically. You have to keep, particularly the Winston, who is and the Genji, who are, like, definitely gonna be on you. You have to be very aware of where they are, and you have to be very careful about how you use your cooldowns around them, as well. Because if Winston catches you, and your hookshot is on cooldown, you're basically fucked. Your team has to help you, or he's going to kill you. If your hookshot doesn't have long left on its cooldown, you'll get away, but, well, maybe. But if he catches you and your hookshot's on cooldown, you just die. There's nothing you can do about that one except get help from your team. So you have to be really careful about when you use your hookshot if there's a Winston on the enemy team, and you have to basically be paying attention to him. And when you're positioning, you have to position yourself in such a way that you can't, like, hookshot forward to somewhere, right? Like, if we're playing Winston, like we were doing on the last round, which I should have talked about at the time, but I was busy complaining about so many things. So, when you're playing against, like, a dive comp, suppose this was the second checkpoint, like, we hookshot onto this, as we were doing on the previous round, like, on the second checkpoints version, though. If you hookshot forward like that, the enemy Winston will jump on you, right? Because he's going to have seen that you use your hookshot to get up there, and he's just going to jump on you. So you have to be paying attention to this. You have to, like, look for Winston. And before you hookshot up to there, you have to think to yourself, if I hookshot up there, can I get punished, right? You have to think, will the Winston come up there and kill me? Will the Genji come over here and try to kill me? If it's Genji, it's not necessarily the end of the world, because Genji isn't just going to kill you after a certain amount of time. Winston will just kill you. Genji actually has, like, to hit you, right? But you have to think to yourself, if I hookshot forward right now, can I be punished for that? And if the answer is yes, then you have to think about the chances of if you're going to get punished, right? Is it like 80% chance the dude jumps on my face? In which case, don't do it. Is it, if it's, can I get punished, but it's like, 20%. Okay, whatever. You can still go for it, because it's fairly unlikely you'll get punished. Nothing you do in this game is completely risk-free, right? There's always some element of risk involved. But you have to weigh it. You have to, like, keep track of where the people who can kill you are and what they're doing. And think to yourself, if I try to move forward right now, will I die? Or is there a good chance I'll die and get punished for this? In which case, don't do it. Just position more passively until you actually have an opportunity to go forward. Because if you go forward when you don't have the opportunity, you just die. So you have to be more patient in that situation. Also, here's the thing with defending as Widowmaker, right? Because it is slightly different. Widowmaker is generally better at attacking, because defenders tend to come in very aggressively. They tend to be very dive-heavy. So, Widowmaker, zoning heroes in general have trouble because the attacking team can move through those zones so quickly that it tends to be an issue. So Widowmaker is naturally better at attacking, but she can defend, whatever, sure, absolutely. It's not like any one hero in the game, like, is only good on one side of the map. Some heroes are suited to one side of the map more than others. Like, Torbjorn, not great at attacking, good at defending. Depending on how you view it. But defending Widowmaker, what most people will do is they'll just sit in one spot, and that's where they are for the rest of the game. And they just sit in that one angle, and they shoot at people. It's better to think about, find, a few places to stand as Widowmaker. Because, on Anubis, obviously, the place that's, right behind us is good, And then you can just stand up here as well. That's fine. You can stand a little bit more off to the side and shoot people as they try to go through to one doorway. You can stand on the further back left side, and shoot people as they're trying to, like, get control of this area, blah, blah, blah. There's a few angles that every point has where Widowmaker can stand and still be effective. You can stand up here if you're feeling really ballsy, you know? Up here works. Every map has a few places a Widowmaker can stand and be effective. Pick, like, the 3 best ones, right? And then every time you defend against a push, change the one you're standing at. Because if you're standing in one place the entire time, that makes you really predictable, and it makes it really easy to play around you. Because then, suppose you just stand on the place that's directly behind us the entire time, and you never switch your position, right? Then they just go, alright, so we'll just pick Reinhardt, we'll just, like, march our way through here, because the Widow's just gonna be watching that one way, and then we move through here, we get up here, and then, like, our Winston jumps out from here right on Widow's face or something like that, you know? Or they go, alright, so she's camping up there, we'll just go this way and circumnavigate the open space entirely and just kind of, like, bypass her. It makes it... This is not necessarily going to happen. It's on a more baseline level. If they have, like, a Widowmaker and you're always standing in the same place, she knows exactly where to shoot. The Genji knows exactly where to go. The Tracer knows how to get to you, blah, 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 blah. So pick, like, the 3 best spots, and then just every push that you defend against, change the spot that you're standing at. Because that makes you more unpredictable, and thus makes it harder to play around you. A similar concept is applied to Sombra, where, what most people will do when they're playing Sombra is they'll pick a health kit, right? Because you play around health kits with Sombra. They'll pick a health kit. On Anubis, it's probably going to be like that big health kit on the upstairs to our left. And they'll pick like that, and they'll be, this is where I am now. This is where I stand, and this is my position. And that's where they just keep attacking from that place over and over again. The entire benefit of Sombra is that she's really unpredictable, and she has very unique methods of movement that allows her to get into very strange places very quickly. So if you just keep playing around the same health kit and attacking from the same angles over and over again, that makes you very predictable, and it makes you very easy to play around. If you are more unpredictable, it makes it more difficult for the enemy team to play around you. So if you're playing Widowmaker and you're defending, every time you defend against a push, change where you're standing. Because it makes it harder for the enemy team to predict you, and thus it makes it harder for them to deal with you. And you can apply that concept to a lot of heroes as well. Like, a Genji does not always want to go through the same place. A Tracer does not always want to go through the same place. In general, people have this thing where they, like, pick, like, the best spot. Widowmakers always stand up there, for example. And they pick, like, the thing they interpret as being the best. And then they only play around that. Whereas the other options might still be good, but they never play around them because they are not the best. And therefore, because they are extremely predictable, it ends up not being... Like, if you know a Tracer is always going to go through the same doorway over and over and over and over to get to you, it's not actually that scary to try and deal with the Tracer, because you watch that area, like, oh, here she comes, like fucking clockwork, right? So, you know, be varied. If you're defending as Widowmaker, the moral of this story, which has been very long, if you're playing Widowmaker and you're defending, try to be unpredictable. Vary the spots you're standing in. Attacking as well, like, obviously, but attackers, there tend to be less places for, like, an attacking Widowmaker to really go into to vary up. You usually just are trying to pick off the defenders that are, like, bunched up into one area. Widow is very good at attacking, because she can, like, pick apart defenses like that. So, a whole team fight has been happening underneath us right now. Reinhardt is a very sad hero to play against Widowmaker, I can tell you this one from personal experience, because if the Widowmaker can see around your shield, your options are, turn and face the Widowmaker and get killed by the enemy team, or keep facing the enemy team and die to Widowmaker, and it is very, very sad. Widowmaker is also quite good against flankers, which will seem very unusual to you, I'm sure. And I say this because we're shooting a Tracer right now. And the reason for that is, a fully charged body shot does 120 damage. That puts Tracer at 30 health. She will almost certainly use recall. And it drops Genji to 80 health. These heroes can no longer dive, right? They have to go back and they have to heal. Tracer almost certainly uses recall, which still forces her to play defensively, because she doesn't have her get out anymore. Genji's at 80 health. He can't dive in anymore, because he might suddenly die for doing that, right? So Widowmaker is good against defenders, because as long as you hit them, that suddenly negates their threat, because they can't keep attacking after getting hit because they're too low. So now they have to play defensively again, and then you just keep harassing those people. And it makes it very difficult for them to actually do their jobs, because they're constantly too low to actually do it. So as we can see, they are now coming into us with 50,000 ultimates. That's an exact number. And we're gonna lose. I'm not gonna, I'm not saying the timeline necessarily tells it all, but the timeline can often tell it all. Yeah, we lose this round. They came at us with all of their ult. Like, they just threw Pulse Bomb, Graviton, and Self-Destruct onto the point, and the Pulse Bomb picked off Bastion, who is typically what your team is playing around. So, we're gonna lose. We also, like, best situation was we draw, but, like, we're gonna lose. It's just, they came in with a lot of ultimates. What can you do? Our team comp is also bad, because our only tank is Orisa, and Orisa is not a main tank. I don't fucking, like, 8-page essay argument with somebody about this, but, like, Orisa is not a main tank. Like, she can't do it, because, like, if the enemy team is like that, you just get rolled over. Like, it's just how it is. They just come and they just, like, walk at you, and there's nothing you can do to stop them. You need another tank. You need an actual main tank with you, or Orisa has, like, no presence. So, yeah, we got fucked, basically. We're playing Widowmaker, so, there is always the possibility that you change the outcome of the game single-handedly, where you suddenly kill, like, 1,000 people, and then you win the game because you did, in fact, just hard carry your team. This is not exactly very consistent, though. A lot of issues on the team. The thing that really... The one moment that, like, really makes me sad to think about is when the Zarya went in with the Graviton, and we killed both of the supports, but we still didn't end up capturing the point, because the time that Zarya decided to go in with the Graviton and make this play was not very good, because we were missing half our team, so we couldn't actually convert it into anybody. And it's like, if that happened when our entire team was there, we probably do capture the checkpoint, or at least get more on it. And then, who knows what could happen from that point, right? So that's the moment that really makes me sad to think about. It's like, yeah, if that came at a better time, it could have all been completely different. So I look over there at the timer, and I see that I have been recording for 44 minutes. So this video is probably like 41, 42 minutes long at this point. That's fucking long, so I'm not going to belabor the points any longer. Oh, good heavens, we did a lot of complaining. It's a 15-minute replay that we have almost turned into an hour-long video. Felt like a complaining about a lot of things today. So, was there like a more specific question in the email? Because I've just been so wrapped up in my own little world. When to engage, when to disengage. It's just like keeping track of, already kind of talked about it. It's basically just, keeping track of the enemy team, and if I go forward aggressively now, what are the chances I get punished, right? If I go forward and hook shot up onto that area right now, will the Winston just jump on me and kill me? If highly likely, yes, just wait until the answer is highly likely, no. We have talked about a great many abstract things today, so hopefully some of it came out making sense. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer, and I hope you found the video helpful.